Okay, so this is the December 14th meeting of the Development Governmental Relations Subcommittee to Holyoke City Council. I'm the chairman. With us on the committee, Pete Tallman, Howard Graney, Michael Sullivan. I don't see Gladys here. I don't see her on there. Okay, so Gladys is not here. Also with us are Jim Leahy, Joe McGivern, and Terry Murphy, and Linda Bacon from the Holyoke City Council. So welcome, fellow councilors. We don't have meetings, so we have an agenda here. We don't have meeting minutes. And number 2 is staying on the table. Although for right now, but we will have to take up number 2 in a little while. So Jeff, just remind me to do that, because we're gonna have to open up that public hearing and continue it to a date certain. Okay, Jeff? So I'm just gonna say pending for right now in my notes. And minutes are tabled. So if I could get a motion to take number 3 off the table and open the public hearing, please.
Motion to take item number 3 off the table and open the public hearing.
Motion made and seconded to take number 3 off the table, open the public hearing and discussion. Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Public hearing, special permit applications of Holyoke Landing LLC for a drive-through facility and a that would be a fast casual restaurant, and then a drive-through facility, bank, drive-up teller at Lower Westfield Road. And so this is the second go around for them. And and just so I'm clear, do we have a department head on this? We don't. I do have the city engineer's correspondence, and I know I forwarded it to everybody, but we'll read that momentarily. But I know we have Mr. Soley from is that? Oh, Gladys. Okay, welcome. So I just want to acknowledge Gladys LeBron Martinez is here too. So we have a full roster tonight. Okay, so Kevin Soley, Holyoke Landing. Okay, so we've got. Oh, that'd been helpful if I had a. Okay, that's not helpful. Let's see here. Hold on, Kevin. All right, so I've got a couple things from the planning board, which I'm going to print out, which I reviewed, but I can't stand reading on the computer. So there's that. And then the fast food. And so print that as well. And then I know we had comments from the city engineer, which I'm going to call up in a second. I can figure out how to work my computer. Let's see. Hold on, Kevin. Just bear with me for a minute. Let's see here. Oh, but it would have been nice if I saved it properly, but of course I didn't. Okay, we'll do a take 2 then. Bob Parent, okay. Bob Parent, Holyoke Landing, Bob Parent. I've got that as well. Okay, so Kevin, you're representing the petitioner. Why don't you? I've got the various department has comments, and we'll get to those momentarily. Why don't you set us up? Tell us how we got here, and how we, and then why we are doing a repeat on this, and tell us what your client's position is at this time. Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you. For the record, thank you, Chairman Bartley. For the record, my name is Kevin Soley. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of Massachusetts with Soley Engineering. Office is located at 351 Newbury Street in Boston. I do have a presentation. I could, if I could maybe be made presenter, I could share my screen and run through everything for the board. But
yeah, we did that before, so please go ahead.
All right. Okay, thank you. So this evening, I'm here representing Holyoke Landing LLC, who's the applicant for a piece of property at Holyoke Street and Lower Westfield Road. The board may remember the site. We actually were here before you, which I'll touch on in a second. But the site is located at Lower Westfield Road and Holyoke Street. You can see here the mall is a little bit to the south. Holyoke Crossing right across the street, and then this site was previously used for like surplus parking for the mall. Total is approximately 11.92 acres. It was developed in 1992 for mall parking, and our primary focus is really on the developed portion of the site in this location here. What we are proposing is the construction of 3 buildings. A 2,300 square foot fast food building in this location here, a 6,750 square foot building, a multi-tenant building with a drive-through in this location here, and about a 17,550 square foot building towards the rear of the site, multi-tenanted, and we are identifying this as an end cap tenant with a bank drive-through. So this overall site does propose 3 drive-throughs, the rear building, and then the fast casual restaurant here and a multi-tenanted building here. Now, the board may be familiar, we were actually before you in September, and we received approval for 3 special permits for drive-throughs on this property. The one little change that is, as the applicant got a little bit further along into the permitting process and trying to secure tenants for the site, the previous plan had proposed a bank drive-through in the corner in this pad site location here, and the building in the rear was to accommodate the fast food restaurant use. After getting some additional potential tenant interest, the applicant decided to relocate or basically swap the bank drive-through with a fast casual restaurant drive-through to create the site that we have in front of us now, which again is the same 3 drive-throughs that were previously approved at the site. However, since the bank and the fast casual drive-through swapped locations, we needed to come in and pursue additional special permits for those 2 uses. The special permit granted for the building in this location here, that hasn't changed, that has not been modified. So that's still there, but we're just looking to swap the location of these 2 drive-throughs.
Okay, all right, Kevin. Just because I'm taking notes and trying to get this squared away. So let's just call building 2 the north side building. What's the use for that one now? That's the restaurant?
Yes, that's a fast food restaurant.
Fast food. Okay. And then in the larger building to the east, building 3, that will now be multi-tenants, including what?
This is proposed to be a bank, financial institution with a drive-through.
Okay. And then in the 6,700 square foot building, building 1, what's that one is now? That one's staying the same, but what's that being used for?
A coffee shop.
Coffee shop.
With
Okay. Coffee shop with a drive-through. So that one's staying the same. Okay. All right. And just want to make sure you were copied. Well, I can't tell if you were. I know. All right. Let's go with the city engineer first. I know you were. Okay, so the city engineer forwarded to me his same letter that he sent in July. So I don't think he had any other, let me see, the drive-through layout. DPW has raised a concern with this is from the city engineer, July 17, 2020. DPW has raised a concern with the applicant about the short distance from the drive-through canopy for Suite 1 to the exit of the parking lot. Based on our view of the layouts of other constructed drive-through facilities, we anticipate that improved signage and other enhancements can be made during the planning board review process to address this concern. So I know Bob did talk about that in his email. Where are you with the signage, Kevin?
Well, so that was actually, that comment had to do with the location for this when the building 2 was proposed to be a bank. And we've actually, by swapping out the location of the bank and the fast food, we've actually eliminated that as a concern. And Bob has provided some comments to the planning board, and he has no issues with that from a layout standpoint.
Okay. All right. And then as far as the planning board letters are concerned, let's see, we've got one for the financial institution and one for the fast food casual dining. I don't see, I assume you were copied on these, Kevin, the December 1st letters from the planning board chair. One's December 1st, one's December 3rd.
Yes, and we actually provided a response to the December 3rd letter. And we just got some comments from the town planner on December 8th that we're currently working on. We have a hearing with the planning board tomorrow night.
Hey, Jeff, could you just sort of mute everybody except for the Mr. Soley and myself at this time, please? Thank you. Okay, then once he releases, okay, so you see you have a planning board. Okay, Tuesday, tomorrow's Tuesday. So planning board is tomorrow, Kevin?
That's correct, yes.
All right, so
we've actually had an initial presentation with them. I think it went very well. We finally got some staff comments that are relatively minor in nature. I think we can address all of them. But obviously the modification to the layout did require us to come back to this board. I do want to point out one other item. One of the other things that we discussed at the last DGR meeting was some of the concerns regarding people coming in from the highway, getting off on Lower Westfield, and making their way over to the site to make sure that there wasn't going to be any weave or congestion or things like that. So we took a hard look at that after that last meeting. And, you know, the concern was, again, people coming off the highway, coming down, taking a right onto Holyoke Street and creating some conflicts here, especially because people coming southbound have emerged. So what we actually proposed in our revised documents to the commission was providing some additional signage in advance of making this maneuver, so that once you come off the highway, you get enough advance notice that if you want to go to Holyoke Landing, you have to actually make sure you're in the left lane, so that coming through here, we don't create a situation where if you're in the rightmost lane, you then have to kind of weave over and cross over those lanes. So we did provide some additional signage there. And actually, Bob did have some comments about providing some additional advanced signage from here, which we're happy to incorporate and build in, because we obviously want to make sure that the access is as clear and as clean as possible to minimize potential conflicts from a traffic standpoint.
Okay, so right now there's not even a yield sign coming from Route 91 to the Holyoke Mall. So what kind of signage are you proposing?
Well, signage, it says here, use left lane for Holyoke Landing. So again, it's kind of a driver awareness thing that if you're turning right onto Holyoke Street, you want to make sure that they're aware to use the leftmost lane in order to turn, so they can be adequately prepared to turn left into Holyoke Landing. Okay.
Yeah, that was certainly raised by Councilors McGivern and Tallman at whenever we met, whenever, you know, how many months ago that was. So, okay, so that's certainly a, yeah, that's certainly going to be helpful. Why isn't there a yield sign there?
Well, I think because that's a good question. I think I think it's actually a dedicated lane, so you're not necessarily yielding into the same lane because there are separate lanes there, but it does create a little bit of a weave condition, and that's obviously an existing condition. So it's not necessarily, you know, I'm not sure if it necessarily needs the yield sign, but I think some advanced signage could certainly help.
Okay.
Which is what we tried to address.
Okay, well, that's what the engineer, okay, advanced signage, okay. All right. And it's just to alert the motorists that Holyoke Landing motorists need to work their way to the far left lane. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay. All right. So let's just see, Kevin. If I don't know if we want to, let me go to the my screen on here. See if I can see if any counselors are raising their hands, and we will get to the public. We are in a public hearing, so we'll get to the public momentarily. Are any counselors wanting to ask a question of the petitioner at this point? I
think is clear.
Yeah, I don't see anybody with their hand up, but on my screen. Oh, Councilor Tallman has his hand up. Councilor Tallman's recognized. Just unmute him, Jeff. Councilor Tallman?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I'm looking at, this is to Kevin, on the north side of the building one where the restaurant's going to be with the drive-through. On the other side of that, going into the parking lot, is that an open space there into the other parking lot?
Into this lot.
Right.
Oh, sorry about that. Into this lot here?
Right.
Yes, and I can shed some light on that. So
Yeah, if you could.
I can. So our client is purchasing or acquiring this property from the entity who owns the Pier 1 building here.
Correct.
And as part of that, he wanted to, there's actually a couple other big things I'll just touch on real quick. The other really good improvement for this project is it actually eliminates the connection from this site to Lower Westfield Road under existing conditions. This is kind of all open. It was previously used under the same ownership. So part of our project actually disconnects that. So there's no access from our project, from our site to the north. And I can show that on this plan here. This rotated everything. Sorry to confuse anybody, but we're creating this buffer to disconnect that. However, so when our client started to look at the pursuit of the development of this property, as I said, it's being purchased from the same owners of this piece, and they wanted to simply have some additional surplus parking for their facility. And they're basically retaining a small strip of land along here where they would still have, they'd still own that. So they would essentially just be some additional parking spaces off of our property. And there's currently a path from that lot up to this existing facility here. So our overall acquisition is really just, you can see through here.
Right.
So it excludes that strip, but it does disconnect any connection to this building here, and it just maintains this lot, and we just provide that connection as it currently exists, but it is outside the limits of our proposed development.
Okay, thank you. And another question, Kevin, on the, if I'm coming from the Holyoke Mall and I see that first entrance there, is that just an entering or is that an exiting also?
It's restricted to just right in.
Okay.
When we had first started meeting with staff, we had talked about possibly right in, right out, but we had made some concessions there, and it's just a right in only.
Okay, so that's my concern too, because that could be a problem, people trying to exit there. But so you'll have some sign of signage there that there's no do not enter or something on the inside of the parking lot there?
Yeah, we have extensive signage that is do not enter. Also with the geometry, we wanted to make sure this was designed to discourage any of those movements. I think we've been able to accomplish that.
Okay. And the other thing on the front, you described about coming off of 91, let's say from the south, and you're coming on off of Lower Westfield Road. You know, when you make that signage, you say get to the left, but actually I think there's either 3 or 4 lanes there. So if somebody's coming off and get to the left, it looks like they still have to go over maybe 2 lanes to get into that property. Because you have to.
Well, so how this works?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So how this works now? There's 2 lanes to take this right turn lane from Lower Westfield onto Holyoke Street. And what happens is the the lane coming across is its own dedicated lane. You can see here,
Right.
and that's that left turnmost through lane. So then this left turn lane is kind of comes along adjacent to that, and then there's a dedicated right turn, and there's obviously a left turn into our site. So we want to make sure that anyone who wants to visit our property is aware that they want to be in this left turnmost lane, because then all they have to do is merge from this left lane to come over to that left turn lane. And we wanted to try to provide as much advance notice as possible, which is why we proposed that additional signage here. But through conversations with Bob, I think we're even going to look at maybe pushing some additional signage even further up.
Right, yeah, because I think that's
closer
important.
to the highway.
Anybody, even people that are familiar with that area, it's confusing because you go there and you're trying to say go to the mall, and you want to stay in the left lane to go to the one side of the mall, the right lane to another side, and the very right lane to get into the Holyoke crossing. So it's whatever signage is the best possible, because also you have people that don't actually look at the signs. They're just in a hurry to go somewhere. They're getting off the highway, and now they realize, oh, I got to go over, you know, a lane and a half or 2 lanes to get to that area, because they may not be aware that they have to get over there like right away, and beware of people coming over from Whiting Farms Road, because they're coming over there with that light, you know, pretty quickly to get to the mall. So whatever signage.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely a driver awareness issue that we kind of see, and you're right. There's certainly a lot of people who are going to visit these sites frequently that are aware of the challenges with it, but we want to make sure there's as much notice as we can for those who may not be totally familiar with the area.
Right. And one more question, Kevin, along the drive, you know, with the entrance and the second entrance is there some kind of a wide enough walkway for people to walk in that area?
Yeah, one of the things we actually focused on was a lot of the pedestrian connectivity. So we have some pretty extensive sidewalks throughout the entire site. We have sidewalks coming into the site actually in 3 different locations across the frontage. One here serving building 1, then coming across from the right-end driveway here, and then from the main driveway as well. And all of these can come in and then provide for pedestrian access all the way across the front of the site, and then also feed towards building 3. We also have bike racks proposed at each of the buildings to try to encourage, you know, more of that pedestrian movements and with bike circulation as well. Trying to really focus on creating this as a pedestrian-friendly location.
Okay, I think that's important for that area. One more last question. Coming into that, I'm sure all these stores, whatever is in the back there and the front, everybody needs deliveries. With the delivery trucks, and some may be a little bit larger than the smaller box trucks, do you have enough, you know, area? Is that, you know, looked at where they can maneuver in there to the back of those buildings, especially the one in the back?
We have provided truck turning figures in our engineering report as part of the application, because we did want to make sure, obviously, that there was sufficient room for larger, obviously, box trucks and delivery vehicles like that, but they need to be able to navigate everything. You can see we actually have a couple areas where we have this additional striping to not only make sure we have adequate turning room, but also room for them to kind of pull off and unload and things like that. We have loading areas behind building 3, behind building 1, and we have some of these other areas too to make sure there's room to access and do dumpster, and then obviously just bring delivery vehicles through the various sites. So we have been working with staff pretty extensively on that, and I think we've been able to satisfy the town engineer's concerns and also the planner as well.
Okay, thank you so much, Kevin.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Tallman.
Thank you.
Councilor Bacon is next, and followed by Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say, to me, this is pretty straightforward, because I do think most of the due diligence was reviewed at the earlier meeting, but I'm happy to see that the swap on the drive-throughs is alleviating the concern, or at least some of the concern that existed regarding the traffic going on to the site. And so this seems to me to be a win-win revision for the area from what I'm hearing, and I appreciate the update. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Bacon. Councilor Tallman, just take your hand down when you get a minute. Councilor McGivern has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Kevin, welcome again. And I agree with Councilor Bacon. I think this swap makes a lot more sense in terms of the traffic flow, and certainly in favor as we were the first time with the proposed project. I'm going to take a minute just to, I agree with you as far as the signage goes for people who are coming off of 91 onto Holyoke Street. But I think Councilor Bartley's correct about the yield sign, because in that second lane, which is the lane that you're going to ask people to get into, they have an immediate merge with the people who are coming directly into Holyoke Street from Whiting Farms Road, which is just across from the intersection there. Now, the problem is if you know what you're doing, you got plenty of time to do it. If you want to go straight into the mall, you got 2 lanes to choose from. Eventually, depending if you want to go left or right at the intersection that brings you into Holyoke Mall Road, you want to be in one of the correct lane there. That's not that bad. The problem when you're coming in that entrance off of Whiting Farms Road is if you want to go into your project, it's kind of a straight shot, get into the left-hand turn lane. But a lot of people coming that way want to go into Holyoke Crossing, which is Barnes & Noble, which means they are immediately trying to come over 2 lanes and eventually get into a right-hand turn lane. The people wanting going into your project are going to be doing the exact opposite at the same time. And it's a short distance when you look at it that way. I think part of the solution would be the signs you're proposing. I think the city engineer is going to have to give us a little bit of help, and maybe a yield sign or maybe some signage for the people coming off Whiting Farms Road, because it's 2 immediate different drivers who are trying to do different things, and it's going to be a problem, but it can be resolved. The project's great, and thank you for coming before us again.
Okay, thank you, Councilor McGivern.
Councilor Bartley, can I ask one more question?
Yeah, Councilor McGivern has the floor.
Kevin, when you first showed us this plan, and you talked about not having the access up into the upper building, which was, we call the old Sears building. This lot here, which I know you can't see my mouse, but the one you just told Councilor Tallman about is that the owner is keeping. I thought that was the overflow lot for your employees.
No, that's actually being maintained by, as I said, it's by the seller who happens to own the same building here. There's more than adequate parking. We do, yes, we do. We are requesting actually some parking relief from the planning board, simply because the parking requirements for the restaurant spaces in the current code is extremely conservative and much more than industry standard for a lot of these restaurant uses. So we have been able to provide, empirical data and national studies on, actual parking requirements for facilities like this, which does include employee parking. So there's more than adequate parking on site to accommodate both employees and, patrons of the facilities.
Thank you. Thank you, David.
Yeah, thank you, Councilor McGivern. Kevin, just on that point, how many parking? Just say that again. So how many parking spaces do you have, and then just explain the relief that you requested from the planning board, so I could just explain that properly.
Sure. So we have a total of, hang on one second. Sorry, I pulled up another set of plans on my screen, which affected my screen share for a minute. But we're providing a total of 181 parking spaces for the entire site. The town zoning regulations require 190 spaces based on existing town code, but that requires a parking space count of 1 space per 40 square feet for restaurant uses. And what we've provided as part of our submission materials to the planning board is some empirical data on actual parking demands for facilities like this and for restaurants. The Urban Land Institute and the Institute of Transportation Engineers both have suggested parking rates for different uses. And while the town of Holyoke would require 59 parking spaces as an example for this building here, the actual need is really only about 33 spaces. So while we're not meeting the 190 required from a planning board standpoint, there are provisions where you can seek a special permit for some relief on parking. We are requesting that relief, and we're essentially 9 spaces short from what's required from a zoning standpoint. But we have more than adequate data to support that we have more than adequate parking to accommodate the entire development.
Okay, and then just remind me, because this is something that's kind of typical. What are, and again, just for the public, we're only talking about buildings 1 on the north side and building 3 on the east side. So what are our proposed drive-through hours, Kevin, for building 1?
I believe we said 7 to 7. Actually, we're just working on
that can't be right.
No, that's actually not correct. I'm thinking of another use, actually. Excuse me.
Yeah, we wouldn't do that to you.
No, definitely not.
Maybe in South Hadley they would.
Well, that's why we're not in South Hadley. That's why I wanted to come to Holyoke.
Darn tootin'.
So here we go.
I don't even think you can do a drive-through in South Hadley. I'm not even sure if they allow it. Yeah, they must.
Okay, so for building 1, we're requesting 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. on Sundays. Building 2, which would be this restaurant here, 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. And then building 3 towards the rear, I think 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Okay.
This will also have a not only in addition to a teller window, but also an ATM. That ATM will obviously be available 24 hours.
Okay, and the ATM's a drive up?
Yes.
Okay, so we'd have to specify that in the permit too. So that's built. Okay, so teller window. Okay, and 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. 7 days.
Monday through Saturday.
Okay, and then the ATM would be 24 hours, 7 days.
Correct.
Okay, all right. So we'll have to make that motion. Jeff, just remind me to do that, please. Sorry to be a burden. Okay. Yeah, Kevin, why don't you just take the map down? I think we've all got it memorized by now, just so I can. I just want to go to the regular Zoom setup. Okay. Are there other counselors that want to speak on this? I don't see hands up at all. Okay, we are in a public hearing, and so this is where the public gets a chance to as of right weigh in on this. So you can raise your hand if and you can speak either for or against it. I'm going to ask you for right now, just to sort of make it a minute or 2 or 3 if you really have to say something, and then really just address me. And then I'll try to summarize what it is you said or asked, and then we'll direct that to the applicant. I try not to have a round table, so just to keep regular order. So with that being said, is there anyone from the public that would want to speak for or against this matter? I don't see anybody's hands up. Jeff, do you agree with me?
I don't see any hands at the moment.
Okay. All right. Okay. With that being said, does anyone want to ask any? Well, there's no department heads here, so we can't do much about that. I think we heard what the proposed drive-through hours are, and they all seem in line. So with that being said, if no other, does a petitioner want to add anything else? Kevin?
Just that thank you, Chairman Bartley. I actually enjoyed coming in front of this commission. I think you do a great job with it, and appreciate your consideration.
Thank you. Okay. I think we could probably get a motion to close the public hearing. I think that would be in order.
Motion to close the public hearing.
A second.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to close the public hearing. Under discussion. Hearing none. On the motion to close the public hearing for agenda item 3, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Okay, so the public hearing is closed. I'll make a motion that the hours for the drive-through, and we're only talking, I'm going to do it one at a time. So Jeff, just sort of bear with. Building 1. Gosh, I'm pathetic. You would think I could remember this. Building 1 is the 6,700 square foot building. Am I right on that? Yes. No, I'm not.
That's building 3.
That's building 3. Yeah. Well, you would think I could read my own writing. Isn't that beautiful? Okay. Building 3 is okay. Building 3 is a 17,000 square foot building. Do I have that one right? Or I screw that one up? Kevin? Building 3?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, building 3 is a 17,000 square foot building. That's the one with the bank and then the 5 additional suites. The motion is to have the ATM to have the hours be 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday for the teller, and that the drive-up window for the ATM be 24 hours, 7 days a week. So that's the first half of the motion. The second half of the motion, as a condition on the permit, is for the north side building, which is building 1, I hope, and hours for that will be 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. on Sunday. So that's the motion.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Under discussion. Hearing and seeing none. On the motion, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Okay, so the hours are approved for those buildings. I guess we would take. I guess I would take a motion to recommend approving the permit as conditioned aforesaid.
Counselor?
Yeah, Counselor Tallman has his hand up.
Yeah, did you do the 3rd building? We did 2 of the buildings?
Well, we've already got the 3rd building approved, so that's not before us.
Oh, that's all set. Okay. Okay.
That's
So the hours aren't changing on that one.
The hours are not changing, so that permit's set.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry about that. Yeah,
It's all right.
so we have
I'll make a motion, we approve the project as amended.
the motion is made to
Second.
approve the project as conditioned, as seconded. Under discussion. Hearing none on the motion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Okay, so that's recommended for approval 5-0. That'll be before the full city council for a final vote on Tuesday, tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Okay, everybody. Thank you. Thank you for that, Kevin. I appreciate it. Thank you to the department heads as well. All right. Let's see here. We are going to move expeditiously to agenda item 4.
Motion to take item number 4 off the table for discussion?
This is a public hearing? I guess it is.
I'll
Okay.
open up the public hearing.
Motion's made and seconded to take item 4 off the table and to open up a public hearing on the motion. Under discussion, hearing none. On the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Public hearing, special permit application of Valley Opportunity Council for an extension of a pre-existing non-conforming structure at 348 Chestnut Street / 48-52 Franklin Street. Okay, and it just so happens, and it's our lucky day, we have Steve Huntley with us. Where is Steve? There he is. Okay, hi Steve. Okay, Let me just hold your horses for a sec, Steve. Let me just see what's going on here. Jeff's got us organized pretty well, but sometimes I'm not organized that well, and that's a bad combination. But let me but if I don't print things out, I am dead. And the printer's coming as we speak. I hope. It worked 10 seconds ago, so here it comes. Look at that. I'll tell you. All right. Okay, Steve. Oh, golly sakes. How do we exist before Zoom? How do we ever survive before Zoom? I tell you, I wish I knew. I don't remember life before Zoom. I'm going to ask Councilor McGivern when next time we have history lesson to give us life before Zoom, because I can't remember it. Okay, so Mr. Huntley, what's happening here?
So we're in the process of redeveloping the Vosey's property, and it's been abundantly clear to me that we aren't great bodega property managers. Now, years ago, when this was capitalized, mid 90s, by Carlos Vega and all, there were stipulations put on the bodega that it couldn't sell tobacco related products and that it couldn't sell lottery related products or some equivalent. I think the lottery was out in the mid 90s, right? So in any event,
lottery?
Yes.
Yeah, that was 1972.
70s,
okay.
Early 70s.
Okay.
Well, 1972. So I drilled it down for you.
And I'm still trying to win.
I think we all are. So really, it's been a huge disadvantage for the bodega that was there. We agree with those stipulations. We haven't really wanted to change much of that, and think we're better suited to convert it to a 2-bedroom apartment unit instead of having a bodega with really not good parking and just it's a recipe for a disaster, frankly. The world's changed a little bit since 1997, I believe, when this project was open, and you can get a gallon of milk anywhere, and the neighborhood's actually changed as well, and there's a lot more available to folks within walking distance that wasn't there many years ago.
Okay, so to boil it down, there is a bodega right now, and it's 875 square feet, and you want to convert that into a 2-bedroom?
Correct.
Okay.
It is vacant, so it is vacant commercial space. It was a bodega.
Right. Okay, so it's a current vacant bodega space. It's been vacant for a period of time, long period of time. We don't have to quantify it, but period of time. And right now, well, we all know we need housing, right? So this is, you're saying, VOC is saying, if we got this special permit granted for pre-existing non-conforming, we could create another a 2-bedroom unit. Do I hear that right?
Correct.
Okay. All right. What else did I miss, Steve? What else do you want to add to this?
We have.
Steve, can I add something?
Sure, you can add the important stuff. I just have the funny stories.
Well, okay, Miss Fryman.
Thank you.
Hold on. Well, Miss Fryman, I didn't recognize you yet, so hold on a second. Okay, so Steve, first of all, Steve, are you all set?
I think so. I'm happy to answer questions. I do have with me Ellen Fryman as our counsel and Alex Jansen's director of operations. We could put pictures up and layouts and things of that nature if there's interest in it. We certainly don't need to bog down your meeting if.
Oh, I wouldn't mind looking at it. Okay. Why don't you show us what's happening?
Great.
Yeah.
Can I share?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm unable to, it says. Yep, I got it.
Jeff will let you. Yep.
Thank you. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
So this is the Vosey's building coming up Franklin Street. Here's the bodega that you know, in the last picture of Google was in place. The picture coming, so this is the picture coming down Franklin Street, looking at the corner to the right is Chestnut. So then what we're proposing is to put a 2-bedroom. This is the current entrance, what also the bodega entrance was, with a living room, kind of a dining room, an open kitchen, and then 2 bedrooms and a bathroom with a walk-in shower. So it's not a handicapped unit, but it is it's you know, not a bathtub shower where, you know, it's more convenient for, you know, folks of all ages to kind of walk into a shower rather than stand in the bathtub. So that's proposed in the current corner space on the first floor.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Alex. Appreciate that. Ellen, did you want to add something to this?
Yes, well, just explain the reason that we're here is because the building is pre-existing non-conforming, and one of the aspects that we don't conform with is the density. And by adding this additional unit, we will be increasing the density of the number of units per acre. It's quite minimal. It's about it's less than 3.5% that we're increasing the nonconformity of density, and we don't believe that's significant enough that it has any you know, impact on the neighborhood. So there's really no more detrimental impact on the neighborhood. And then I just want to add one other matter. The application was submitted by Valley Opportunity Council because they manage the building. They're the ones putting together this refinancing package, which, you know, will be a rehab of the entire building. And then this conversion is part of the total rehab. And so we are asking that the permit be issued in the name of Vosey's De Esperanza Limited Partnership, the property owner. There will be a new entity that, because it's of a tax credit deal, and the property will be transferred, but we want the permit in the name of the owner. So that wasn't specified in the application. If a note could be made to that effect, please.
Okay, and so let me just correct my negligence. Alex, just identify yourself and who you're with, if you would.
I'm Alex Jansen, Director of Operations for the Valley Opportunity Council.
Thank you. And Ms. Fryman, why don't you just identify yourself and who you're
Sure.
with?
Yes, certainly. I'm Ellen Fryman with Schatz, Schwartz and Fenton, 1441 Main Street in Springfield.
Okay, thank you. And Stephen Huntley, I should have identified. Steve, why don't you just identify yourself? I know you're Executive Director. Just say it for us, please.
Steve Huntley, Executive Director of Valley Opportunity Council.
Okay, thank you. And your address, Steve, is 35 Mount Carmel, Chicopee, Mass?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Is there anything else that the petitioner wants to add at this time?
No, I don't have anything else. Steve, Alex?
No, thank you.
Okay, I don't see any committee members with their hands up, so I'm going to recognize Councilor Murphy and Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to speak in favor of this. The property is well managed, it's well maintained. I have heard no complaints, and obviously we've had meetings in the past couple of weeks where obviously we've had some issues. This would appear to be, again, as you mentioned, you know, we obviously had need for housing. This is adding another apartment complex in an area right across from Falsetti Towers, right across from Churchill Homes. It just seems like it's a natural fit. And again, the fact that it's so well maintained, if you look at it from a structural standpoint, it certainly looks pretty solid. I just want to speak out in favor of it. It is in my ward, and I do support this process. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Councilor Bartley, and to the petitioners, I too support the special permit itself because I think it's a great project. This building has got a lot of history. Not too long ago, it wasn't the best history in the world, but it turned itself around, and I think it's a great project. And certainly have no doubt Valley Opportunity Council can pull off the project correctly. I do have some procedural questions just to make sure we're on the same, going in the right direction. Attorney Freeman, you may have already answered my questions, but is 348 Chestnut Street the legal address of the entire building?
There is another, it's 348 Chestnut. I believe it has another address on the other street, but I don't have that.
I have it 4852 Franklin.
4852 Franklin Street, yes. Sorry.
Okay, so all the address,
348
thank you.
Chestnut, 4852 Franklin Street.
I just want to make sure all the addresses were there.
Yeah,
just in
thank
case
you.
Down the road.
Yeah, I didn't realize I had it in front of me. I did.
Non-conforming can be one of the most confusing things we do, and you explained your reasons for doing non-conforming, which I'm guessing somebody in the city told you you had to do. Would that be correct?
Yeah, well, I did notify the building department that we needed to get this permit. They're aware of that.
Okay, because if I understand, the non-conforming issue originally was the bodega because it's residentially zoned property, and the bodega was there before zoning in Holyoke, as Councilor Bartley pointed out earlier. Councilor McGivern was not. I don't think I was around then either, but it was a long time ago when the city of Holyoke, was created, and the zoning didn't come along to, well into the 60s. It was actually the 50s they began to map it out. So a lot of these places, if they didn't continue as a small store, all these business fronts in these large residential apartment buildings, when they were discontinued for 2 years, became non-conforming. This is the first I've heard that changing it back to residential is non-conforming.
If I can just clarify, the use is conforming. There's no issue with the use. It's just that the number of units per acre, we're putting in more units than is allowed under the zoning ordinance per acre. So we're putting a lot of apartments in a small space. So it already doesn't conform in that respect. If we were to build it today, we'd have to build a much larger building for the number of units. So the fact that we're increasing the density even more by adding another unit, that's why we have to come here.
I'll take your explanation for it, but I would have called that a variance to the simple hardship that you just went to the Board of Appeals and just found out and got a variance for that. But Attorney Freeman, I'm sure you're far more knowledgeable than I am, and that's the way you're going. That's fine with me. But thank you for answering the question.
Councilor Tallman.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Stephen and Alex, for your investment in the city. To Alex, on this property, we're making the 2-bedroom down there. Is that, I can remember being in that store, that bodega several years ago. Is like a basement apartment? Will it be like a basement going down?
You don't have to go down at all. The entry is at grade level. So it's a normal walk-in right from the street level. It's right on the corner.
Okay, so it goes right into the street. So there's nothing where you have to go down any steps or anything.
No, the front windows are full windows they're big windows, and currently they're the storefront windows. The side windows are smaller because there's, a lot of foot traffic coming around, and it's next to an alleyway. So they're a little higher, which is also nice for security and, just looking in and so forth, but you don't have to step down into the space.
Okay. And this is to Steve. Steve, the rest of the building, is the building being renovated now? Is there apartments, people living in the building now?
Building's fully occupied, and we're working on lining up the funds in order to renovate it. So we hope to be renovating it probably a year from now, if we're being optimistic.
Okay. Thank you. All set, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. I don't see any councilors with their hands up. We are in a public hearing. Is there anyone from the public that wants to address us pro or con on this matter? I don't see anybody. Jeff, do you see anybody?
I see no hands.
Okay. I think just so before we close the public hearing, we are going to, I'll just make the motion now just so we have it. The permit's going to be in favor of Voces de Esperanza Limited Partnership.
Correct.
If I could just get a second on that, that'd be great.
Second on that. Second.
Okay. All right. So we'll hold that right here because that motion has been made in second, and we'll hold that right now. And I said that right, Attorney Fryman, correct?
Correct. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Does anybody else? Does a petitioner want to speak in this matter? Are we all set, or we got anything else to add to the petitioner? No. Okay. I'll take the first motion I think I'll take is on the motion before us to ensure that the permit is properly placed on that motion on discussion. Hearing none on the motion. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Okay. I'll take a motion now to close the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion made and second to close the public hearing and discussion. Hearing none. Seeing none on the motion to close the public hearing for agenda item number 4. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Okay, so the public hearing is closed. Under discussion, so we have the permit properly named. Jeff will make sure that on the meeting agenda. I think the explanation was fairly straightforward, and though I mean Councilor Gibbons is right, this stuff with pre-existing non-conforming stuff is really confusing. But to boil it down, it had to do with the density of the units in this particular square footage. So now it's going to be even more dense, and so that in fact is what they're coming before us to do. So I'll take a motion to.
Can I ask one question, Mr.? Can I ask the question?
Councilor Murphy, yeah, sorry.
Thank you. And I just want to make sure, Steve, I know you talked about renovation.
Public hearing is closed, Terry.
No, I know. I'm
okay.
I'm just getting a question about what he's just talked about in terms of future, so I can tell people if they. So when you do renovations and you get the funding next year, are the tenants that are there going to have to move?
Temporarily, and then they'll be brought back if so that's a few steps down the path than we have together. But the reality is, if there's an occupied unit and they're getting a new kitchen and a new bathroom, we would have to move them out temporarily and then bring them back to a brand new unit
at a time. Is that
most likely? And we're hopeful that there'll be vacancy within the building, so they just move across the hall. Then we do there and move them back, sort of.
You don't see
shuffle.
a mass exodus where you got
no.
20 apartments or whatever. How many total apartments?
There's 36 there right now.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Thank you, Councilor Murphy.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilor Green is recognized.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the project as amended.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the project. On discussion. Hearing and seeing none. And so this is to approve the special permit is a motion is made and seconded. No hearing on discussion. Hearing none on the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Okay, so that's okay. All right, so we're going to recommend for approval tomorrow night to the full city council. You may or may not attend depending on your schedule, but I can't see it being very controversial. Okay, thank you everybody. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay.
Happy holidays, everybody, and thank you.
very
Good to see
much.
you all.
Okay, well, we're going to sing carols in a little while, so stay tuned for that. Okay, so okay, so I'll get a motion to suspend to take 5A and 5B off the table, please.
Motion to suspend the rules and take items 5A and B off the table for discussion.
Motion made and seconded to suspend the rules and remove items 5A and 5B from the table. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Let's see here. We're going to have to suspend to allow the public to address if there in fact is any. Is there anybody here before us? I mean, I love Zoom. This is Councilor McGivern and I love Zoom. We can't Zoom enough. Is there anyone here in this meeting? If you could wave at me, raise your hands on this matter. I don't see anybody here on this. Miss Allen, Miss Zola, you're not here for 5A and B, are you? No. Okay. All right. Because
I'm here for number 2.
You're here for number 2. Oh, Miss Allen, we're going to get that in a second. Okay.
Yep. No problem. Thank you.
Just a point of personal privilege, Miss Allen. That is staying on the table, and we'll continue that to a date certain. But we have to get down to agenda item 8 first to set our next meeting date. So I'm probably not going to let you speak on that matter. And I'm not going to accept a motion at this point to allow anybody to speak on that. But you can stay tuned for the next meeting date.
Correct. Thank you
Oh,
very
okay,
much.
all right, all right, thank you. I'm not being a wise guy. I'm just, there's a lot going on here. Okay, 5A and 5B. Nobody's here for this. Okay, just to the administrative assistant, Jeff, just confirm for the public what you and I already know, that you alerted the petitioner to this meeting.
I did. I emailed last week that it was going to be on the agenda today, and I sent the Zoom information this morning.
Okay, and to date, have you received a reply?
I have not, and I looked back at the form just to make sure I precisely had the email address correct, and I confirmed for myself a couple times.
Okay. All right. Let's just be cautious.
I believe I CC'd you on that email last week as well.
Oh, you did.
Originally.
You absolutely did CC me, but I wanted to, it's better off having you say it, Jeff, and then, but where did I put, just if the committee would just bear with me for half a second. Mr. Burkott sent me a, oh my golly, you would think I'd be more organized, wouldn't you? Mr. Burkott, where is he? There he is. Okay, yeah, he was very kind. I didn't ask for this till the last minute, and that was my fault. But he did forward to me a letter that that I'm going to skim into the public record in a minute. Okay, there's a letter. Jeff, did you happen to upload that letter from the planning board yet? June 16th letter?
Was that the one that I got emailed earlier today?
Yeah, it came in last second. Don't that was my bad. I should have. Okay, so
I believe that I did.
Oh, you did? Oh boy, you're good. Okay. Now 1 second. I just want to find our answer, because we do have to sort of answer it here, and that's kind of what I'm. All right. Okay. Okay, so I have all the paperwork. I'm sorry, I should have printed this out earlier, but I had a bit of a nutty day. So I did review all these things, but I just didn't print them out. And it's easy for me to run a meeting when I have paper in front of me as opposed to going to the screen. So I do apologize to the public for that. Okay, so in an October 22nd, so we have a complaint. We have a complaint from a resident in Smiths Ferry who was looking for relief under Chapter 48, Section 5, and that relief was to change the zone of an abutter, if we all recall that, and that we met in, and so this went through the process at Planning Board, and we'll get to that in a second. And it went to the process at Ordinance Committee, and we'll get to that in a second. And then it was supposed to be put on the August 4th agenda of the full city council. That's our one summertime gathering. And at that meeting, though it had been voted out of ordinance in July, and we have the the former chair right here. She can confirm whatever she needs to confirm. But that was voted out of ordinance with a 3-2 denial in ordinance. And then it was supposed to be on the August 4th agenda, and lo and behold, it wasn't there. So city council used its rules, and I forget our rule number, but we have the ability with a 2/3 vote or more to pull an agenda item out of committee. And if I'm saying something that's incorrect, I expect any veteran counselor or any will correct me, but I don't see anybody correcting me yet. So at the August 4th meeting of the city council, we use our rules as we've done numerous times to pull this matter out of committee, and we put it up for discussion, and we denied it and that was 11-1 was the vote. Rebecca Lisi was the one counselor who voted for this at full city council. She also voted for it in ordinance along with Councilor Hernandez, but Councilor Hernandez switched her position and voted no at full city council on August 4th. And so subsequent to that, the petitioner, Mr. Fitzgerald at 439 Northampton Highway, said that we had an open meeting law violation, and that's his allegation. And we've all heard this. In his allegation, he made some pretty slanderous, actually libelous allegations against me personally in this. And for one, saying that I had a personal role in this, that I was heard at a local establishment disparaging it, and that as a result, given my demonstrated personal interest and animus, I must recuse myself. And then at our first meeting in September, Councilor Lisi wanted, because we generally refer this to DGR, Councilor Lisi wanted a legal opinion to say whether or not I could chair this. Now, I had prearranged this with the vice chair of this committee, Councilor Sullivan, to chair it if necessary, and he would have done a great job. But the legal opinion from our law department said it's perfectly acceptable for Councilor Bartley to chair the meeting. And in fact, that's why tonight and earlier, and you heard the administrative assistant, because I made sure the administrative assistant, A, made sure he gave written notice to the petitioner, and B, made sure that the petitioner had the Zoom link emailed to him. And you heard the administrative assistant say that directly. And so I was going to then make a motion to suspend the rules and to allow the public to address us on this. But the petitioner, the gentleman, is not here for whatever reason. So we have, and then the last thing I'm going to mention, and any other counselor can make a comment on this, is that not only was this denied at Ordinance Committee, not only was it denied at full City Council, it was also voted 3-2 to deny it at the Planning Board level as well. And that's on the June 16th letter signed by Eileen Regan, and that's been uploaded by Jeff to our drive. And that letter is referenced in our law department's open meeting law response to the petitioner. And the response, the response says what it says. It just says it's probably not the right forum, basically. I don't the open meet. Our response doesn't really get into the ad hominem attacks on me, or anything else really. It just says what open media law is for and what it's not for, and she basically says open meeting law was not violated by the City Council on August 4th. But in an abundance of caution, because we've had these before us at other times, we refer it to committee, and we allow the petitioner to explain him or herself. And in this case, the petitioner and his legal counsel both quote in the paper, both saying they stand by their allegations. Neither one appears tonight. I mean, I'm here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 members of the Holyoke City Council are here, ready to face this. I mean, we're all said in violation, and the petitioner made what I felt was a spurious, libelous attack, and doesn't have even the common courtesy to show up. Maybe the petitioner wants another bite at the apple at public speak out on tomorrow, and that's fine. I won't have a chance to respond at that time, which is a little bit unfair, unless the president suspends the rules, and I will ask the president to do just that tomorrow night. I'll ask the president to suspend the rules and allow me to address the petitioner directly if that petition does show up tomorrow night. So this has been, frankly, a waste of probably the last 12 minutes of everybody's lives. I apologize. I apologize for that. But as you can probably hear by my tone at the prior meetings and my tone tonight, obviously I'm not too happy with it. So whether this gets covered is of no moment to me. But I'll defer to the committee if the committee wants to. I mean, a motion probably would be in order, such as say this was complied with, and to direct the law department to respond to the Attorney General's office. If you want, but
I'll make a motion that the order has been complied with, and for the legal department to refer to the answer to the Attorney General's office.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded on that motion. Councilor Bacon has her hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to speak to validate the timeline and the sequence of events that you outlined at the beginning of the meeting, and that I was in attendance at the various meetings, and we did abide by our various procedural requirements and rules that are afforded us as the city council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Bacon. Yeah, just under discussion. I mean, certainly the what was really curious about this, if we remember back, pre-COVID, we had a meeting in room 11, City Council, and we had a litany of abutters before the Ordinance Committee speak on this, but we did not have the property owner. Well, property owner, I'm not going to speak on his behalf. The property owner didn't show up. And what happened at that meeting is the Ordinance Committee closes public hearing after hearing from everybody on Reservation Road and everybody else out there on Northampton Highway. Fortunately, Mr. Kelly, who should be credited, and I'm going to credit him now, whether he likes it or not, he kept the planning board portion open, and so he continued the planning board portion, and so they ultimately had hearings, and as I said in the June 16th letter from the planning board, it was voted 3-2 to deny it, and so Mr. Kelly should be credited, and the planning board should be credited for taking using due diligence. Any other discussion? Hearing and saying none. On the motion that the order has been complied with and that we'll send it back to legal to answer this. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Moving on from that. We have item 6 and item 7, and then very important, we have item 8 because we've got to go back to item 2, which we still have to deal with. Councilor Sullivan, are you ready to go with items 6 and 7?
Yes, I am, sir.
Okay, I'll get a motion to suspend the rules and take these off the table as a package.
Motion to take item 6 and 7 off the table as a package.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to suspend the rules and to take and remove agenda items 6 and 7 from the package. On discussion, hearing none. On the motion, all in favor? Aye. Item 6, CPA FY21 project funding recommendation. Item 7, that the Honorable Holyoke City Council, I like that, approve a grant in the amount of $250,000 to Wayfinders. Said grant is for housing and will be matched, oh, I like that, by CDBG, and I can't wait for that explanation, in order to access a $16.4 million state grant. Voted on by the CPA committee, 5 yeas, 1 no, 1 abstain, 2 absent. And we're fortunate in this committee to have our liaison serve on this committee. That's Councilor Sullivan. Councilor Sullivan, do you want to sort of lead us forward?
Yep. Thank you. I'm not sure about item 6, where that came from.
That was a late file from the first meeting. And is that on the drive, Jeff?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay, so we're going to find out not only where it came from, but what the heck it says. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Too many open screens. Oh my heavens, what did I do with it? Hold on, everybody. I got to, oh my God. There you go. Thank you, Jeff. Okay, Google Drive. All right. I'm just opening up the, oh, that's not it. Sorry. CPA funding, there it is. Okay, let me, yeah, this is a late file, item number 6. I'm going to get to that in a second, because I want to. Okay, there's that, and then what I want to do is go back to my original screen and wayfinders. Okay, so while that's printing out, Mike, why don't you tell us what's happening with the with agenda item 7 about the $250,000 about the match from CDBG, which I don't think you can say that in an order because we don't know how that works, and about the 16.4 million.
Yeah, so you're right. The CDBG part I cannot address. I have nothing to do with that, and that comes out of there with the mayor's approval. So, and we have no say in that. So, okay. Having made my disclaimer on that, this is a great project. It came out of CPA on a 5-to-1 vote with one member abstaining. It's was pretty well vetted out. I think the committee did a great job. One of the highlights, well, one of the major highlight of this is for a $250,000 investment. This opens the door for a $16.4 million grant. And this is exactly the kind of stuff we love to see come out of the use of CPA funds. This is beyond leveraging. This is incredible. The highlights of it are the first of all, there's always been a lot of concern about some of these projects, but this property will pay real estate taxes to the city. So it's not going to be a nonprofit or something where once again we're property or real estate and not realizing future income on it. The $250,000, it's actually a 14-month commitment, and the committee vetted this out really nicely, I think. The 250, now I say 14 months, the first eight months enable the applicant to apply for state and federal funds in January of 2021. And they don't find out about the outcome on that until sometime in July or August. And if the applicant doesn't get it in the first rounds, we'd like to give them another 4 to 6 months to participate in a second round of grant applications. After that period of time, the funds revert back to the general fund of the CPA if nothing happens. The CPA would like to reserve the right to extend that 4 to 6 months automatically, because it automatically terminates after the 8 months. If they come to us by September 1st, which is at which time we realize whether the first round of funding has gone through or not and request the funding, that the committee have the right to extend it for the additional 4 to 6 months. And that would be without having to come back before the council for approval. So I think that's the biggest thing to note, that while it's an 8-month, what they're really looking for is a 14-month encumbrance of the funds to get this through. And once again, the committee's done a good job of vetting this out. The project must be completed by December 31st of 2023. No disbursement of funds may occur until the project in its entirety has received all the necessary permitting and approvals from the relevant state and federal authorities. So having said all that, we also have with us, I think we do. Yes, Lidara Zola. If we could suspend our rules to allow her to answer questions, not really a public speak out, but I know the committee will have questions about the project, and she's much better positioned to answer those point by point.
Don't sell yourself short,
Mr.
Mike,
Chairman.
but I appreciate you're really becoming a city council pro here. I like that. So we're going to stay in regular order. So I'll take a motion to suspend to allow the public to
Mr.
address
Chairman,
us
quick
on
question.
agenda item number 7. If I get a second on that, that'd be
Second.
great. Okay, motion made and second to allow the public to address us. Under discussion, hearing none on the motion to allow the public to address us on this. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Okay. Okay. So Ms. Zola, so why don't you, since Councilor Sullivan recognized you, and Councilor Sullivan's the City Council liaison to the Community Preservation Act Committee, does a great job for us, and really kind of sets everything up for us, but because of the nature of this one and the one we had last week, we didn't want to pass these on the floor. We wanted to hear a little bit more from the advocates. And so why don't you tell us who you are, who you work for, just a 30-second bit of background, and then why don't you tell us what's going to happen going forward, please.
Well, thank you very much. My name is Lidara Zola. I am a senior project manager with Wayfinders, and we're here for our Library Commons Phase 2 project. This project involves 4 infill sites, all either adjacent to or across the street from Library Commons 1. So all within, I think, a block and a half or 2 blocks from the Holyoke Library, which is just such a beautiful gem in that neighborhood. The sites total approximately 1.75 acres. We are looking to build 41 units total. It will be new construction on 3 of the sites, which is 29 units. And 1 site, the site directly across the street from the library that has an existing building, and we'll be doing renovation, substantial renovation there for 12 units. Of the 41, 3 will be fully wheelchair accessible. 1 will be for households or individuals with a sensory impairment. The majority of all the units will be visitable. So hallways wide enough, doorways wide enough, 0 step to get in. I can share a map, but I have a feeling I'm sort of looking to try to see if people are nodding or shaking their head.
Yeah, share the map. Yeah, all you have to do is look to me. They have nothing to say about this. I have the gavel. Sorry.
Do you have the?
We went through this last week.
Let's see. Oh, now I have to figure out which screen I'm sharing.
Jeff will help you.
I think I got it.
Okay.
You folks see my PowerPoint?
Yep.
Perfect. So this is the yellow in the center here. And excuse me while I look away, because I look from one screen to the other. So I don't mean to sort of Zoom etiquette here. So the yellow is our existing Library Commons project, which we are very excited. We're hoping for a CO in the next couple weeks, a temporary CO for the first building, which will be 12 units. The remaining 26 should be ready this spring. This is a really compelling set of numbers. We had our lot of—
Miss Zola, just where's the library? Just orient me.
Oh,
Where's
I'm
the library?
sorry. Library is right down here, sort of across from this little blue piece.
Okay. All right. So you just—
Library is here.
Yeah, I can't really see street names on your map. So it's hard
sorry
for me
about that. Yeah, so this is the existing building we're renovating. Library. This is Chestnut Street. I don't know if people can see my cursor. This is Appleton.
Okay, we're all familiar now. So
Okay, this is Essex. This is Elm up here. Okay. So the lottery, which we just had for Library Commons Phase 1, sort of the heartening, the reason we're doing more, but also a very sad statistic, is we received over 1,500 applications. for 38 units. And that, like I said, that's sort of great in some ways and just very sad in others. So it is very heartening that we have Library to Commons Phase 2, on the drawing board, and are working to move, as quickly as we can with Library Commons 2. This is the unit mix. Again, I'm not quite sure how big my screen is. So the rehabilitation, the renovation building, 213 Chestnut.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay, then we have the totals. This is the renovation building, and this is a sample of sort of the townhome construction. We wanted something a little less dense to give a mix in the neighborhood, sort of evoking some of the town, the row houses in the area. And as the introduction said, we are very much looking for a local match that enables our application to be more competitive. These are very, very competitive rounds for the state and federal funding, and the local match makes a huge difference. We are working with the city. I believe it's going to be home funds. I think it might have said home and or CDBG. I believe we're targeting home just to make that connection. And obviously that's not firmly committed, but that's what we've been discussing, is the 250 from home, the 250 from CPC, and that will allow us to be in a much better position to gain this funding. So we are very excited to be in this position. I'm happy to answer any more questions about the project.
Okay, yeah, why don't you, okay, let's just, let me go to my screen here. Councillor Bacon has her hand up. Councillor Bacon's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So my question is pretty straightforward. Since we don't know about CDBG or the home funds, whichever it may be, would the funding from the CPA be successful in standing alone as you seek this grant funding if the match is not able to be accomplished, or are both required for this to move forward?
That's a very good question. And I've got to say, there's not a strict sort of XYZ. There's a little bit of artistry that goes into positioning projects to be the most competitive. So I can't give you a definitive answer. I do believe that both pieces together make us the most competitive that we can be. That was a lot of thought went into those numbers. I feel badly not being able to answer you, but I also want to be honest. No,
but that makes sense to me. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Tallman has his hand up. Councillor Tallman is recognized.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Ladara, thank you for being here. I'm looking at the project. I'm very familiar with the area. Is there, how much percentage of the buildings, Chestnut Street, Essex, are already in place, or already, are there any completed yet?
Oh, of Library Commons 1?
Right.
Library Commons 1, the nurses building, 210 Elm is scheduled to be complete in a couple weeks. We ran the lottery. We are hoping to move tenants in, all a little sketchy with construction, give or take week or days, but tenants should be moving in January.
Oh, that's great. That's great to hear.
Yeah, it really is.
And the building you stated, the one you're renovating, is it right across, is it right on sort of kitty corner from the library, the back on Chestnut?
Yes, so it's on the corner of Chestnut and Essex.
Essex, okay.
It's the one that's clear boarded right now. The parking lot behind it actually sort of looks like it's part of it, but it's used by the library.
Library, right.
Yeah.
Okay, so that one is, you started on that now already yet, the renovating, or no? Is that part of this plan?
That is part of this plan. For a lot of sort of our funding reasons, we can't start on construction, but we have been able to make the building safe. So we have clearboarded, we've been keeping an eye on it. We've been doing outside cleaning so that it looks nice, but we can't yet start construction.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for your investment in the city.
Okay, Councilor Murphy is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Ladara, thank you very much for Wayfinders and what you've been doing. So far, what you've done has been a very positive part of that neighborhood. And I want to also commend Wayfinder because they are major motivators in the Churchill Community Alliance trying to bring the neighborhood together. I think the second project, I am so happy to see 207 Elm Street on this list because I've looked at that since we had the problem with the Essex building last winter. And I just kept saying, we've got to do something in that huge vacant lot. So I'm assuming that's going to be some 10 or 12 units, or it looks like that's the one that's going to be 2 stories.
Those will be the construction townhomes in 207 Elm. I'm looking at my notes, has 12 units.
Okay, but it's like into 3 or 4 doorways, right?
Yep, exactly.
And then if I read that map right, you're also going to be on the corner of Appleton and Elm, filling in what has been another poorly maintained vacant lot, which is another positive thing. And hopefully, based on what I've seen, stabilize that part of that neighborhood where we've had some problems. So, so I'm all in favor of this. I can remember way back when I was just an old man coming to when we started talking about redevelopment, I talked about this area being an area that is crucial for downtown revitalization. And until we do these kind of things, we're not going to. One other question I do have, and I also agree with the property at 213, 215 Chestnut Street across the street. That also makes, if we didn't do that, everything else wouldn't make so much sense. In fact, I thought that's where you were first starting, but I found out you weren't, but that's fine. So I just want to get a definition of what we consider to be affordable. I mean, I know it says it's going to be affordable units and it's deed restricted.
Mm-hmm.
So can you tell me what the definition of affordable is?
So it's a very good question because there are a lot of different definitions of affordable. So it is always good to clarify. These will all be affordable. The affordability will be at or below 60%. And at 18 of the units will be targeted to ELI, extremely low income. So that will be at or below 30% of median income.
So that's 18 units.
18 units at 30%. And then the remainder, yikes, don't make me do math in my head, of the 41, I can do that in a second, it will be at 60.
23.
Thank you.
And 23 units are at what now? What?
60% of area median income.
So let me make sure I understand that. So 60% of area. So if the median income is 50,000, you're not telling me the rents are going to be 60% of that.
I can pull up some numbers or I can send them into later. So I'm not sort of looking at multiple screens, but that is the way, affordability works. It's based on area median income. The percentages are determined. There's differences based on family size. So there's some nuances with that equation, but it is a very,
okay. So I just want to get an understanding on this, if that's okay, Mr. Chairman. So if 60%, if in Holyoke's median income is lower, but let's say it's 40,000, just for mathematical purposes. So someone at 60% would be making approximately $24,000 a year, right? And then someone at 30% would be making only $12,000 a year. Am I reading that correctly? And then the rent is calculated based on that?
An affordable rent for a household is paying 30% of their gross income towards, housing needs. Some of these units, part of our application is also applying for Section 8 vouchers and Massachusetts MRVP vouchers. So those are an assistance to the households and also assistance to the project, because those then pay a higher rent to the project, but the household is paying a rent they can afford.
Okay. And so one last thought, one last comment. I think I'm getting this. So, in effect, by doing the 23 units at 60%, we're trying to balance this out so that we're not, if you will, a totally low income housing project. It's kind of a lower income and a lower middle income housing project. Would that be a good way to define it?
A variety of households,
which I think makes sense. Again, I think we need to make sure that both economically and ethnically we have diversity in order to make an area be successful. So I think that's a great idea. I would love to hear when it actually comes out what the rents are. I would love to see rents well below 30% of somebody's income. But I know you buy a house and they tell you between 20 and 25% should go to your house. So, and that's owning. So hopefully renting would not be much more. So, all right, thank you very much. And I'm all in favor of the project. I hope we fund this. I hope you get the additional funding. I hope you get the state funding so that we can get this started as quickly as possible. And thank you for what you've done. And I encourage you as well to come to the Chestnut Community Alliance when we meet.
This Thursday.
What's that?
This Thursday, I believe there's a meeting.
I haven't got notice yet, but it is on Thursday usually, so you're probably right.
All right, thank you, Councilor Murphy. Councilor McGill is recognized.
Thank you, Councilor Bartley, and Laura, thank you. The library project is wonderful. I think we all support it from the get-go, and it's going forward great. I just have a few questions, making sure we're on the same page, but the $250,000 from CPA goes directly to construction costs?
I believe that is what we earmarked it for. Sometimes we add in the architectural and the engineering, as well as the construction, but definitely to project costs.
Any administrative costs at all? Okay. And again, you can't draw on it until the rest of the funding comes in? Unfortunately,
we would like to draw on it sooner. Because money sooner always does help a project, but that was how it's set up, which I understand.
In the long run, Ladora, how does the property tax work? Is Wayfinders remain the property owner?
Actually, Wayfinders will not remain the property owner. So there will be an entity, LC, Holyoke LLC, I believe is the entity that has created, and that entity will pay property tax.
Okay, the property tax is based on the assessed value.
Yes.
Thank you, and keep up the great work, and enjoy talking.
Okay, I don't see any of the councilors' hands up. There's a lot of open questions here, and I appreciate the discussion. We could get into all sorts of things, but I'm sorry.
I have had my hand up. Thank you.
Yeah, Gladys. Yeah, Gladys. Do you know how to hit the blue button at the bottom of your screen?
I have, but I don't think have you seen it? It's been up. You see it?
The blue button. It's not up. It's not. I'll reckon. I mean, no. That's the clapping motion.
There is. I've used this every day, so I don't know why I cannot see the blue button right now, but it's there. I'm not. Anyways.
Go ahead.
So again, I just want to say that I'm in favor of this. I'm going to actually abstain from the voting, for the reason being that my daughter works for Wayfinders, but I think I can give comments unless it's not okay, but as long as I'm not voting, I think I can address that.
Usually if you're abstaining, then you're abstaining not just from the vote, you're abstaining from the discussion as well.
That's okay. So no problem then. Thank you then. I guess.
Okay. All right. So you would want to announce that at the meeting tomorrow night, Gladys, prior to the vote, that you feel like you have a conflict and that you would not participate at all in the vote or discussion. Ms. Zola, do you have your hand up?
I just, while folks were talking, pulled up some of the area median incomes and the rents. I don't know if you want me to bring some of those up now, or I could send them in later.
What is it that you want to say? Why don't you tell us now?
Okay, so a household of 4 and 30% of area median income in 2020 is about 25,000. The 60% number is a little over 50,000, just sort of for the family of 4. Range, 2-bedroom rent for one apartment targeted for a 30% would be 576, and the 60% would be about 1,100, or some current numbers, just to give some people a ballpark of where the numbers are.
Okay, thank you for that. Mike, just so I'm clear, and I would want to make the vote clear, Mike.
Yep.
The CPA's position was what? You didn't want to say 8 months. I think you wanted to say up to an extension time, or did you want to say up until the drop dead date of December 31st, 2023? I wasn't clear where you were going with that.
Okay, so the bottom line is we're looking for is a 14-month commitment. All right, the committee, the first 8 months. Let me read it exactly. Right, the 8-month commitment would enable the applicant to apply for the state and federal funds in January and potentially receive the award in the summer. So if they don't receive the award in the summer, what the committee wants is the ability to discuss it with them again, see what the next round of applications is, and go ahead and extend it an additional 4 to 6 months for a second round of funding, which is usually in December. If I got that right, Ladara?
The mini round would likely, they don't announce it ahead of time, but it would probably be in the fall of 2021.
Okay, so, and that allows us to, at the discretion of the committee, to go ahead and extend it without having to come back to the council again. So we're out of the starting gate, or to deny it for that matter, without having to come back to the council a second time. The reason for this is we did run into some questions about on the Victory Theater and some others about the contracts. Once they expire, technically we have to come back to the council all over again. We can't just grant an extension because the original one did say just 12 months, for example, on the Victory Theater. So we're just trying to avoid that situation again by having it there in front of us and on the table to go ahead and grant that extension. So basically what we're asking for here is it's already on 14 months.
Okay, so I think, and that's starting January 1st, Mike? Right?
Let's see. Yeah, I believe it starts January 8th. Is that right, Dara?
Well, how about this? Just so we don't go insane. Why don't we just start this January 1st, 2021? The clock ticks from starting January 1st, 2021. Then it was January, February, March, April. It runs through April 30th, 2022. Is that okay, Mike? Just so we have some kind of a timeline, so Jeff can write it in the order.
Yeah, that'd be fine. That would be excellent. Yep. Okay,
because that right there is, well, actually that's 16 months. So actually you want a 14 months. So it would go through February 2022, right? So that's 14 months.
Yeah, February 28th or March 1st, we could have for a date.
Okay, March 1st. There you go. March, that's even better. So 3/1/22. So it goes 1/1/21 to 3/1/22. But somewhere in there, you want a circuit breaker for them to come back to at least the CPA committee to discuss it if they don't make the cut in the first round. Is that accurate, Mike?
Yeah, we have that circuit breaker in for August. So.
Okay, so, well, you don't have anything right now because the city council makes a vote, right? So the city council would establish a circuit breaker. Ladara, what would be a reasonable time for you to come back? Because you said the fall. Sorry, Mike. Yeah, Mike, go ahead. Sorry.
So we'd be approving this with the following funding conditions. And one of the funding conditions is CPA funds for the project will not be drawn down until all the necessary funding commitments for full construction are obtained. And if they are not obtained, I said August, by September 1st, 21, and no request for a 6-month extension is put forward and accepted by the CPC, that grant will automatically terminate, and the funds allocated for this project will no longer be reserved for this purpose.
Okay, I got it. Mike, Ladar, is that your understanding?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Okay, so Mike, I think the best way is to put that in the form of a motion, and I think if Mike, your motion is that no funds are drawn down until what? Why don't you just say it so Jeff can type it up so we can have it on the agenda, right? Just so we can.
Well, there's a list of 7 funding conditions. Do you want me to read all 7 of them, or just?
Yeah, why don't you read them and then forward them to Jeff so he doesn't. If you can you do that so he doesn't have to retype the whole thing?
Well, I can because Jeff forwarded them to me, so I think we're all set on that one.
Wow, how about that for efficiency? Boy, I tell you what a government this is. Why don't just lay them out, Mike? So just so we have them.
Sure. Just for the record, the funding conditions are the CPA commitment of $250,000 would be for an 8-month period only. The 8-month commitment would enable the applicant to apply for the state and federal funds in January 2021 and potentially receive an award by the summer of 21. If the applicant does not receive the state funding by the summer of 21, to proceed with the project, the applicant may request an extension from the CPC for an additional 4 to 6 months to participate in additional grant application rounds. Number 3, the CPA funds for this project will not be drawn down until all the necessary funding commitments for full construction have been obtained. And if they are not obtained by September 1st, 2021, and no request for the 6-month extension is put forward and accepted by the CPC, this grant will automatically terminate and the funds allocated for this project will no longer be reserved for this purpose. Number 4 is if the request for an extension is put forward prior to September 1st, the CPC will have the option of granting or denying said extension without any requirement to put this recommendation before the city council a second time. Number 5, all construction work for this project must be completed by December 31st, 2023. Applicant may request an extension of this date from CPC, and CPC will have the option of granting or denying said extension without any requirement to put this before the city council a second time. Number 6, no disbursement of funds may occur until the project in its entirety has received all necessary permitting and approvals from all relevant municipal, state, and federal authorities. And number 7 is the boilerplate here. Other conditions may apply as deemed necessary and as fully set forth in the final grant agreement with the city.
Okay, I'm going to second that motion. So motion made and seconded to attach the aforesaid conditions. Under discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Councilor Greeny.
Yeah, just quickly through the chair to Mike Sullivan. City Councilor Sullivan. What's the balance in the CPA fund?
I'm not sure of that right now. I mean, right now it's probably a little bit in excess of $1 million, $1.2 million. If we approve this and the other one in front of us tomorrow night, that'll knock 250, 350, 425 out of that on just these two requests here.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, just to Jeff. Jeff, why don't we just be prepared to get an who's our consultant?
One other thing, it's in limbo here as far as that, because one other funding grant that we had approved previously, it is being withdrawn, and I believe there's 50,000 coming back into the fund also from.
Okay, so Mike, so Jeff, if we could just get a definitive answer from the CPA's administrative assistant, maybe communication from her relative to what's the current balance as of I don't know, December 1st, and then just along those lines, where are we in terms of there's three categories, Mike, by open space, housing, and then historic preservation. Are those the categories?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So Jeff, where are we in terms of financing for those three categories? With a balanced budget. So I'm just going to make a motion now that we ask the administrative assistant to procure that data from the CPA's administrative assistant.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded to secure the four set of data under discussion. Hearing none on the motion, all in favor? Aye. Yeah, if you would, Jeff, if you would just, if she can get it as a late file, that's really the appropriate way to do it. Have a late file for tomorrow night's meeting. Is what it is. So that's when we're taking it up. So she would just type up a memo to the committee, and she would say, pursuant to your request, here's the data, and she would just send it to the clerk for a late file. Okay, Jeff? Just a clarification. There are three categories you said? Yeah, yeah, she would know. It's one's housing, one's preservation of open space, and so creation of housing, preservation of open space, and then historic preservation. I think those are the three. Yeah,
he'll need the fourth category, which is unrestricted, unreserved.
Unrestricted. Okay, so all four categories, Jeff. Just kind of what's our balance on each, if you would? Sure. I'll send it right after the meeting, and hopefully it'll come in the morning. Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you, my friend. Okay. So we have the conditions on there, and so I guess we would need a motion to approve, to award the CPA, to recommend awarding the CPA. Actually, one more question. Just to Ladara. Actually, I feel more comfortable that it's home funds, as opposed to the CDBG. I think home funds I tend to think we have a better shot at home funds for this. But there's one question No, I'll withdraw that. I'm gonna hold off on that question. I think that would extend this meeting well beyond what we need. So okay, thank you. So we have a motion on the floor to approve, to recommend awarding this CPA funds with the aforesaid condition. Under discussion? Hearing and seeing none on the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Abstain. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Gladys. So we have 4 yes. We have 1 abstention for the reason she mentioned, Jeff. Just Gladys's daughter is employed by Wayfinders, and so Gladys is just being extra cautious on that one. Okay. All right. If you look at number 8, I always just put on as a placeholder. We need to set a meeting date for sometime in January, and then we'll take up number 2 in a minute. So or January, February. Let me just see here. I tell you, I like February 1st. What do you think?
What night is that? What day of the week?
Oh, that's a Monday. I always go for Mondays, Pete. No good? You don't like it?
Well, no, I'm missing a meeting. I'm a member of another group organization. They meet the first Monday of the month. So
okay, no, let's not do that then. Let's do it. Well, do you want to try it January 25th? No, well, that's the last Monday of January.
Sorry with me.
Howie?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay with it.
Gladys?
I'm okay with it.
January 25th? Okay, so our next meeting date will be 1/25/21. Okay, so number 8's complied with. I'm going to make I'm going to accept a motion to take item number 2 off the table and open the public hearing.
Motion to take item number 2 off the table, open a public hearing.
Motion's made and seconded to take agenda item number 2 off the table and open the public hearing and discussion. Hearing none on the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oh, sorry, Councilor Sullivan?
Yeah, we had taken up item number 6 already, and I'm not sure what, we still hadn't determined where that came from or what that was.
Thank you, Councilor. I'll get right back. It's the kind of the budget outline for number 7. It's on the drive, so I have it in front of me. So it's a project description. It's talking about funding conditions. It's talking about expenses.
So basically, it's with number 6. Should we have that as complied with then? Or
we will in a second.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So because number 2 is before us right now. The petitioner wrote a letter to all of us that Jeff put on the drive, but I probably should read into the record. I suppose that would probably be the prudent thing to do. Be helpful if I could find it. I'm getting there. Almost there. Closing in. Letter. Okay, letter. This is a letter dated December 9th. David Bartley, blah, blah. Dear David, dear counselors. This is on the letterhead of R. Levesque Associates, Inc. of 40 School Street, Westfield, Mass. Dear counselors, at the request of the applicant, Salmar Realty, Inc., our office is herein requesting a continuance of the public meeting scheduled for December 14, 2020 for the special permit application for a proposed drive-through facility at 500 Easthampton Road. We respectfully request the hearing be rescheduled to DGR's January meeting to provide us adequate time to address the comments and requested revisions by the city engineer and the planning department. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact our office. It's assigned by Jessica Allen, Permitting Project Manager. And again, that's dated December 9th. Let me just close a few screens here so we can get back to regular business. Sorry about that. Okay, so I think a motion would be in order to table this and to continue the public hearing until January 25th at 6:30 p.m.
Motion to take up my item number 2 and continue the public hearing until January 25th at 6:30.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to table and to continue the public hearing and discussion. Hearing none on the motion. All in favor? Aye. Okay, so that's continued to January 21st. January 25th, 2021. Back to item 6. I'll take a motion if that's complied with.
Motion that item 6 has been complied with.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Agenda item 6, which is already before us, is complied with on the motion. On discussion, hearing none on the motion. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I think we've covered it. Wow, 8:30. Man, I was hoping it'd be done by 8. That wasn't even close. Shameful. Okay, thank you, everybody. I appreciate everybody's hard work and for having 2 of these in 1 month, and we'll see you tomorrow night. Okay, I'll take one more motion, I guess.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion made and second to adjourn, and non-debatable on the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Good night, all.
Have a good night, everybody.
See you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night.